Hello, hello. Welcome to Module 2, Identifying a Social Problem. So in our first module, we talked about social enterprise as a whole, the trends and why now is a great time to start, as well as the traits of successful entrepreneurs. And now we're going to get to the heart of what entrepreneurship is, which is problem solving. So in this module, we're going to understand what social problems are in the context of social enterprise. We're going to understand how problem solving relates to entrepreneurship. We're going to show you how to choose a cause to focus on, as well as research methodologies so that you can understand and get data so that you can create effective plans to solve your problem. We're going to create a problem statement, again, in the context of a North Star, right? Your problem statement is going to help you know what you're trying to fix, to solve. And we're going to walk you through a problem solution alignment and assessment. So what is a social problem? So in the context of social enterprise, a social problem is an issue that negatively affects a significant number of people within a society, often caused by factors beyond their immediate control. And that's where a social enterprise comes in to shift these kind of fundamental problems to positively affect society. Social problems are broken into three buckets. You have systemic issues, which they're problems that arise from systemic inequalities, such as economic disparities, political instability, or lack of access to resources, education, or healthcare. And we have impact on communities, so social problems that have widespread consequences, leading to decreased quality of life, increased suffering, hindered social progress. So we can talk about like obesity, for example, being a social problem that impacts a lot of societies. Things that need for a change. So tackling social problems requires innovative solutions, policy changes, social entrepreneurship initiatives that aim to create long-lasting positive change for affected individuals and communities. So things that are systemic, that impact communities, and that a change is needed. Problem solving is entrepreneurship. If you really think about products or services that entrepreneurs create, they're around solving challenges that people have, right? So entrepreneurs solve problems. Social entrepreneurs address social environmental issues, and they make a difference through their business. And they do that through combining profit and purpose. So first, we start with the problem. One of the biggest mistakes that I see entrepreneurs make is they become solution first thinkers. So they think, this is a cool idea. I want to build it. Let me build it. And then eventually go try to find a customer to sell it to. This is backwards. This is how you end up with businesses or products where you spend thousands of dollars up front. You spend a ton of time, a ton of resources, only to find out that nobody wants what you're selling. There's actually a story I heard of an entrepreneur who needed some help, who had spent a couple $100,000 on their concept, and they weren't getting any sales. Nothing was working. So they went through like an incubator, and they got some help, only to realize that regardless of the amount of money that this person had spent, there was no product market fit. The industry he was trying to sell it into was not interested in the product he was creating. He had to scrap everything and start over. I want to save you this pain. Don't create a solution in search of a problem. Focus on the issue first. Understand the problem's scope and impact, and verify that it's a real problem in need of a solution. Just because you find something annoying or something to be a problem doesn't necessarily mean that it's a problem that needs a solution. And we're going to walk through how to actually do this. Finding a social problem isn't enough. It has to be something that you care about. What drives you? Is it the environment? Is it poverty? Is it social inequality? I've talked about in the last module how a big thing for me is social justice and empowering underserved communities, immigrant rights. And a lot of it is because of my upbringing. I connect to those issues. And a lot of times I believe that in our lives we face issues and challenges because we're destined to help others who face the same issues and challenges. So find something that you care about. Now, if you're an existing company and you want to pivot towards a social enterprise, here's a couple things to keep in mind. So you want to identify a relevant social issue. So explore social issues that align with your company's current mission, goals, or industry. Evaluate the impact potential. So assess how your business operations and products can contribute positively to this change. Integrate social goals. So incorporate social objectives into your business model alongside profit and goals. Stakeholder engagement. How do you communicate your pivot, your shift to stakeholders? How do you get their support and their involvement? And how do we measure and report social impact? So let's develop metrics to quantify social impact and share progress regularly with stakeholders. So identify the relevant issue, evaluate the potential of the impact, integrate social goals, stakeholder engagement, measure and report impact. Now it's time to pause this presentation and go and do the activity. So go to module 2 and find the activity for social problem brainstorming. So sure, there are the problems that we feel there are, right? Which would be, it could be poverty, it could be obesity, but I'm gonna outline a couple of frameworks that's gonna help you think about maybe some issues or some problems that maybe you hadn't considered before. So we're gonna brainstorm social problems. We're also gonna start with your passion, and we're gonna identify common themes and unique problems. Some more examples of social problems, climate change, environmental degradation, poverty, income inequality, gender and racial discrimination, food insecurity. But we need to focus on research to understand the problem. Okay, so it's not enough for us to know that a problem exists. We need data so that we can effectively create plans. And in this presentation, in this module, I'm going to show you how to use two types of research: secondary and primary. Secondary is data that already exists. Primary is new data that you're going to get through surveys, interviews, focus groups. Like I mentioned, primary research, you can use surveys, interviews, focus groups. It's data that doesn't outwardly exist already. Secondary has already been published. There's market research reports. There's a lot of data. I'll give you an example. I'm currently working on an organic, all-natural line of chips. My social component for this is I want to impact people's health. I want to focus on obesity in underserved communities. So I'm creating snacks that have flavors that resonate with those communities, but are made in a healthy way. So for secondary research, I started looking at everything that already exists within my industry. So what do I know about organic snacks? What do I know about consumer packaged goods? And I collected data, and I got a broad overview of the opportunities and the challenges. Then I shifted to primary research. Okay, so who's my customer? And I created a round of surveys where I interviewed people and I asked them, why are you interested in health? What are the reasons why? Okay. Then if I was to make a healthy product, which type of product would you be interested in? So I went through product type, flavor profiles, what are the benefits you look for? This data for my target market did not exist. Now I have secondary research and primary research, which gives me a better idea on one, that a problem actually exists, and two, how I can solve it in a way that my market cares. So a further breakdown of secondary versus primary research. With secondary is the data exists, right? You can use it to identify trends, insights, get some good big picture analysis. There are reports. There's a lot of free information where you can just find online. A lot of data research companies will publish press releases that give you high level data. Then they want you to buy the report itself, but there's a lot of free data out there. It's less time consuming and cost effective. Like I mentioned, it's broader scope. So sometimes some of the challenges you'll run into is it's a couple of years behind what you're looking for. Now with primary, it's a collection of new and original data. A lot of times you'll have specific questions that you want answered that you can't get through secondary research, so you'll use primary to find that. A lot of times it's conducted through experiments, surveys, interviews. It's typically more time consuming and expensive. So with my survey process, I sat down and I talked to customers. I interviewed them and I recorded and I transcribed, and I got a lot of data, but it took time. There's tailored and specific insights, and it's more resource intensive, but it is also the research that the least amount of companies do. So if you're willing to do the work, you get benefits that other companies don't get. I'm going to have these resources downloadable in the module, but I just kind of wanted to highlight a couple of them. These are some great sources for secondary research. There's Statista, which gives you a lot of good data. The US Census, you can get a lot of demographic and economic information. Data.gov, World Bank, Open Data. There's a lot of secondary research available. I like to go to Google to start. I'll say CPG industry report. I'll search for snack food industry report, and I will just get a lot of pre-existing data, PDFs, and reports, and I will use that as my basis for secondary research. And a lot of what comes up is pulled from these sources. So let's assume we've done our secondary research. Well, now we focus on primary research, surveys and questionnaires. So we collect structured data from a large audience, interviews and focus groups. We gain qualitative insights. So in addition to the surveys that I've conducted, once I get my MVP for my product, once I get my samples of product, I'm going to host focus groups with my target market and get specific data from them. Do they like the product? Is it crunchy enough? Is it too spicy? Is it not spicy enough? How much would they pay for this, right? This is all going to happen through focus groups. Observation, as well as experiments and field trials. So the beautiful thing about the internet, and most of you will be using some version of the internet to promote your business, is you can test things. You can run what's called an A/B test. So I'll give you an example. In my last startup in the cookie company that I had, we were testing the headline of our value offer, the headline of our product. So it was the world's best tasting cookie versus soft, chewy, delicious cookie. We had this tool in the back that would split test our homepage. So I'll give you an example. One person comes to our website, they get version A. A second person comes, they get version B. Then it jumps back to A, then B, then A, then B. Then over time, you see which website, which homepage is the most effective. So that allows you to say, well, okay, people care more about the fact that it's the world's first versus they care more about the fact that it's soft and chewy. So with experiments and data, you can do a lot of things this way. And I'm going to, in further modules, I'm actually going to break down some of the tools that you can use. But I want to dive a little deeper into primary and the importance of conducting interviews. So these are 7 points to understand about the interview process. So one is you need to identify your objectives. Why are you doing it? What are you trying to get out of this interview? Number two is who are your participants? Are they in your target market? Let's say, for example, with my brand Niarani, my customers are women, right? So if I start asking men these questions, I might not get the data that I'm looking for. Number three is you prepare the questions. And number four is you establish rapport. So when you're going to interview somebody, a lot of times it's human nature. We build up a wall, right? We know that we're going to be probed, and so we tend to hold back a lot of our answers and a lot of our honesty when we're answering. So it's very important to build rapport, to let them know that you're not trying to sell them anything. You're just trying to learn. Share, be vulnerable, share what's important in what you're trying to create. Establish rapport. Number five is listen. Don't interrupt. Practice active listening. If somebody gives you something that's insightful, ask, wow, interesting. Can you tell me more? Go deep. A lot of times it's said that the golden nuggets are usually discovered in the second or the third follow-up. So if you get good insight, say, why? Tell me more. They tell you that. Why? Tell me more. That's when you're going to get the good stuff. Record, take notes. There's different theories on whether you should record or not. Again, some people, just human nature, tend to close up a little more if they know they're being recorded. So maybe just start taking notes and say, hey, do you mind if I take a couple of notes? And then you want to analyze and you want to synthesize. What are the themes that you notice? What are the common trends? But also, what are some of the outliers that came up? What are some things that surprised you? Highlight them. They might not make sense now, but after you talk to 50, 60 people, you might notice something that you didn't at first. So I'm going to walk you through at a high level of an example interview. So first you can talk about, can you tell me about your experience with insert the social problem that you're researching? How has this problem affected your life and the lives of those around you? In your opinion, what are the root causes of this problem? Why do you think it's or who do you think is most affected by this problem and why? And are there any existing solutions or initiatives aimed at addressing the problem? Now, remember, there's a lot of secondary research that will allude to the reason why these problems exist. But when you talk to actual people who are affected, that is the moment when you're going to be able to compare and say, yeah, the secondary research makes sense. Or you know what? I think there's something that isn't being looked at. And you just continue to dive deeper. These questions are going to be available also for download. So this is just a template. You need to modify it for what you need, but you're going to talk about, what are the barriers that exist to solving the problem? What do you think needs to change? Are there any resources or support that you think would be helpful? What role can social entrepreneurship help in addressing this problem? And is there anything else that you would like to share? I think this is a very key question. Well, give them room to answer. You want to let the prospect talk, and you want to go deep, and you want to keep asking follow-up questions. So ask if there's anything else they would like to talk about and record that or collect that. Something to keep in mind is you want to prioritize customer development before launching. A big mistake that a lot of entrepreneurs make, a lot of social entrepreneurs make, is they launch too soon. We tend to get very eager. We're excited. We want to, again, build a solution. What we found is you want to focus at least 2 months on customer development. You want to conduct long, open-ended interviews. You want to speak with at least 100 prospective customers. It's been said that you don't know your market until you've spoken to at least 100 people in your market. And the beautiful thing is, a lot of these initial prospective customers are going to be the initial source of your business. So when thinking about launching a business, actually, let me say it this way. So this brand that I'm looking at launching, right? I have interviewed a lot of people, and I know that once I launch this business, that initial base that I've interviewed those prospective customers are going to lay the foundation for my initial customer base. And part of that is because I'm making them part of the journey. So not only am I getting their feedback, but as I get product samples, they're going to try these samples. As they give me feedback, I'm going to tweak the product. They're giving me feedback on the logo, on the colors that I'm using. So all of that is going to make them feel like they're a part of the journey. They're going to have ownership, which means that once I launch, they're going to want to be a part of that journey and spread the word. It's something that I've seen happen over and over in different projects that I've worked with. So focus on the customer development first, focus on the research, and then make them the part of the journey. Another example that'll tie into this is actually with my my last company, the cookie company, is we grew 2 crowdfunding campaigns that helped us raise over $100,000. And we didn't do what most people do, which is launch a crowdfunding campaign and say, all right, world, here we are. Let's fund this bad boy. We focused a lot of our time on customer development. So before we even launched, we started sending free samples to people and we encouraged them to get on an email list. We interviewed, we shared email updates. We shared pictures of us at the kitchen making these cookies and the reason why. We shared our why, we shared our story. We had, I don't know remember if it was 500 or 600 people on our email list before we even launched our crowdfunding campaign. This list became the foundation to help us raise over $100,000. They helped spread the word. They were the evangelists. That foundation became our base to then scale our company to over 7 figures, which then became the base to help us land a deal on Shark Tank. So focus on customer development first, then launch your business. Now I'd like you to take a pause and focus on market research on the plan rather than just start talking to people and searching Google. You've been presented with a lot of research methods. I'm going to walk you through how to actually create a plan on doing your research. So again, look for this activity in the module and we're going to develop a plan together. So pause this, do the activity now, and then hit play and keep going with this presentation. We want to solve a real problem, right? We want to define the problem and its scope. We want to determine who our target population is, their geography. And through our research, we're going to understand the systemic factors contributing to the problem. We have secondary research that tells us, but we also have primary. That's going to let us know where we should be focusing our efforts and our energy. We're going to see how we can address this issue in a unique way because, you know, we're not the only people that are solving this problem. So what can we do? What unique value can we create that is not already being done? And for that, here's another activity. We need to identify your problem statement. We need to be clear about what we're trying to fix, right? What are we trying to solve? We want to explain why it's a pressing issue. Let's talk about the urgency, the severity, and discuss the potential long-term consequences if it isn't solved. So let's do this activity now and focus on the problem statement. Because the reality is, we want to know if this problem can be improved, right? We talked about competition in the sense of we're not the only people that are trying to solve this problem. So let's evaluate who's already doing it and how we can be better and provide unique value. What are the opportunities for innovation that aren't being tapped into? What is the feasibility of new solutions? And let's consider how our idea can make a difference. So how do we identify problems? Well, for one is we can start with personal experiences and knowledge. I talked about, again, my drive for social impact and social justice and human rights and equality. You can network with experts and professionals. You can attend conferences, workshops. There's a lot of, especially now, virtually, there's meetups, there's groups where you can connect with other like-minded people and see what are the problems that they're talking about. Stay informed through news, articles, reports. This is one of my favorite slides, and it talks about, or it shares 17 sustainable development goals, right? So maybe your passion is poverty, so maybe the vision is no poverty. So number one is no poverty. Two, zero hunger. Three, good health and well-being. Four, quality education. Five, gender equality. Six, clean water and sanitation, like Charity Water. They focus on clean water and sanitation. Seven, affordable and clean energy. Eight, decent work and economic growth. Nine, industry innovation and infrastructure. 10 is reduced inequality. This can be, in terms of social justice and creating jobs and opportunities for people who might not normally get jobs and opportunities. Sustainable cities and communities. Responsible consumption and production. Climate action. Life below water. Life on land. Peace and justice with strong institutions. And partnerships for the goal. So when looking at a social problem to solve, consider these boxes as a bucket to dive into. So let's say you have a passion for addressing poverty. Okay, well, there's a poverty bucket. Now, within that bucket, what is the unique problem that you want to solve and your unique approach and way to solve it? This is a very helpful slide. Once you determine what you want to solve, what the problem is, we want to make sure that there's alignment. You see, just because an opportunity exists, does not necessarily mean that we are the best person to solve or to go after that opportunity. So reflect on the problem alignment with your personal mission. Remember that North Star, that personal mission goal that we created? Does it align with the problem that you're trying to solve? Consider your skills, knowledge, and resources. We've done a strength assessment and a weakness assessment. Do your strengths align with what you're trying to solve? Assess the potential impact of your proposed solution. And ensure that you have a passion to drive this project towards success. The inevitable ups and downs, the fact that it'll cost more, that it'll take longer than expected. You have what it takes and the passion to keep you going. That is how you align the problem with who you are. Now, I have an activity on how to focus on problem solution alignment. So again, pause this, go do the activity, and then come back. And in that activity, you're going to consider the skills, the resources, and the knowledge that you have. You're going to reflect on the feasibility and social impact of the solution you're proposing. You're going to share thoughts and discuss challenges and opportunities. And you're going to identify areas for improvement and collaboration. It's a very powerful exercise. And now we've gone through this process. We've identified the role that entrepreneurs have in solving problems. We've realized that we need to take a problem-first approach. We need to make sure that the problem we're trying to solve aligns with who we are, aligns with our strengths, aligns with our values. And we've gone through how we can research through secondary and primary research in order to solve this challenge. So a couple of takeaways. Social problems require innovative solutions for positive, long-lasting change. Thorough research and clear problem statements are essential for effective social entrepreneurship. Social entrepreneurship combines profit and purpose to address social and environmental issues. And identifying social problems and taking action through social entrepreneurship can create a better future for all. So congratulations on completing Module 2. Make sure that you've done the activities and the exercises, and make sure you look at the module for supplementary information that is going to be included before moving to Module 3. So I'll see you over at Module 3.